Hi, and welcome to our podcast where every week we discuss topics that are related either directly or indirectly to our health. And today's topic is very interesting, and sometimes we are not so aware about how exposed we actually are to chemicals in our environment. So we'll be discussing chemicals and how they impact our body. Today with me I have Alexia Buttigieg, who I've known for many years now. She has been practicing beauty therapy for the past 20 years with advanced training in aromatherapy and reflexology. Alexia is also an organic natural skincare formulator, has her own brand of products, and she specializes particularly in sensitive skin and skin issues. A lot of us have skin problems where we've become sensitized to a lot of chemicals in products that we use, so it's good to keep in mind that there are alternatives as well. Alexia is also a mom, a wife, and an all-time fan of nature and what it provides to us. In fact, we often compare notes and exchange emails about plants that we've found when foraging and how we can use them in our daily use as well. Alexia, a few years ago, I attended a very interesting seminar that you organized about avoiding harmful chemicals in our cleansing products and using more natural ingredients instead. And this was a real eye-opener for me. And in fact, as we were discussing before we started the podcast, several years down the line, I am still following your advice. You have made me really aware about how many chemicals we are exposed to in our everyday and how we can actually replace them with more natural products and at the same time achieve similar results. Alexia, what has led you down this line? What triggered you to go into this natural skincare and avoidance of harmful chemicals in your daily life?
Good morning, Antonella, and good morning, everyone. Basically, just realizing how many ingredients and how many chemicals are there in the daily products made me understand that some of them we weren't even aware of we're putting into our body. So let's start by the fact that chemicals, when we say chemicals, this is something that chemical is everything. Even water is a chemical. We have to avoid the harmful
True.
chemicals. So it is a very subtle line between understanding between a good chemical and a bad chemical, and there's a lot of shades behind the chemical. But if we use a chemical which we know it's safer, we can make a better environment at home. Now, I suffered with allergies, mostly sinuses
Mm-hmm.
and hay fever. My husband suffers with skin allergies. My daughter was born with eczema. So basically, that's what had led me
Mm-hmm.
going into this alternative route, because I realized that whenever we used to use something, I don't know, mostly the fabric conditioner,
Yeah.
we used to end up blocked with blocked noses. And once we started, now it's been 10 or 11 years
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
using green chemicals, which means more of eco-friendly chemicals. So, and we've seen a big, big difference because, of course, once you take off the allergens, then the body is able to heal itself.
Yes, in fact, I've noticed it even in my own family. We are a bit sensitive, and you mentioned fabric conditioner. It's one of our main triggers, and both me and my children respond very badly to it. And you're absolutely right. Once that is removed, the problems that it causes go away almost immediately. So it's good to be aware of what is in the products that we use every day. Now, how can we actively reduce harmful chemicals from our everyday products? What choices can we make?
So, first and foremost, I think we have to learn how to read what's in the product. Unfortunately and fortunately, the trend is going towards buying natural and organic
Mm-hmm.
products, but there's a lot of marketing behind it as well. So, the big brands are still buying the smaller brands and they tweak them the way they like. Sometimes you go to the supermarket and you buy a fabric conditioner which says lavender on it, and ultimately it would have no lavender but just the
Mm-hmm.
scent. Law
So it's good to read
is
that
not.
it's written as an
Yes, it is very,
ingredient.
very important. INSI, it's called INCI. INSI list, it means you have to read the nomenclature, those little tiny words
Mm-hmm.
at the back of the product. So it's not just enough reading the front of the product, because the front of the product can tell you, for example, it's an organic product. But then, although it would have a small percentage of organic product in it, it might have, I don't know, triclosan in it, which is one of the ingredients, for example, that we must avoid in our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
It takes some time. It can become a bit overwhelming at first. But of course, if you search online and if you find some help, it's easier to understand those little tiny words. Now,
Yes.
they say read, you should be able to read to understand what's in your product. INSI names, they come in their worldwide name. So it can be very complicated, but it doesn't mean it's going to harm you. Unfortunately, as I'm saying for the first couple of times, you have to search for every product online. It is not easy. But once you get used to your product, and
Yeah.
if you buy the same product over and over again, you can say that at least you remove some harmful ingredients. Now, as far as the cleansing products for the home use, when they're in spray form, they can be even more harmful.
Mm-hmm. Because
Even if,
they can be
yes,
inhaled as well, right?
yes, the inhalation part is very, very strong. From 50% to 70% of the product is inhaled, which is a very high amount, much more than the skin, which is much, much lower. It's usually between 20 to 30%. So
Okay, so
whenever,
ideally we would avoid spray, even cosmetics as much as we can. We go
yes,
for creams
yes.
or lotions.
Or if you're using a spray form, one, it should be non-aerosol. And
Right.
secondly, you have to as well understand what's in the product. Because even if it is a natural product, some natural products, they would have some particular ingredient in them that when inhaled, it can
Is
become toxic.
irritant.
It is an
Exactly.
irritant. And if you do use it on a daily basis, let's say like the deodorant, we use it once or twice a day. So if there's one particular ingredient which is known as a harmful chemical, using it over the years, the absorption is much, much stronger.
Exactly.
So it is
Exactly.
something we have to learn how to identify which products are we going to use for ourselves and for our family. Saying that not all synthetic chemicals are harmful.
And in
So it
fact,
doesn't mean,
sorry, you were saying.
no, it doesn't mean because there's an artificial ingredient in a product is going to harm us, or because we read only natural ingredients, it's going to be
They're
totally
all
safe for us.
beneficial.
There
In
is
fact, I
always the
think,
amount of concentration.
in fact, when we go a bit more natural, we tend to not have such a wide range of products because you end up selecting a few products that are safe for all the family rather than having a lot of different products with many different ingredients. So that makes even the choice more practical and easier once, like you're saying, once you get accustomed to your products, what is working out for you, you end up buying less and sticking to the brands that work out for you, making it more easy as well, because it can be a bit overwhelming at the beginning. I remember that process.
But it's just a small phase. Then once you get used to, especially for example, as you know, certain products at home can be done so easily. Within 10 minutes, you would have your all over surface cleaner. You would know what you're putting on it, in it, and you know it's going to be safe for the animals, for the kids at home, if there are any elderly. So it's much, much safer, and you have more mind at rest just to say, yes, I'm using something that this is good for all the family.
How about some of the harmful effects of chemicals? And we mentioned when we inhale, because it can be absorbed, and apart from that, it is an irritant, and if we're prone to, for example, asthma or things like rhinitis, we are more prone to trigger a response. How about other conditions in the skin, for example, like
Yes,
like
eczema, yes, eczema,
eczema
dermatitis, and there are other many
and
conditions
acne
that
as
can
well,
be.
I'm aware.
Yes, and acne, especially right now with the masks, with the COVID masks, we're seeing lots of acne, much more than before. What I always suggest, for example, is when you're washing your face masks, you wash them with a natural soap, ideally, no
Exactly.
fragrance, not even essential oils, ideally. Something very, very basic, and they should be dried inside, not outside. because many people are washing them with their load in the washing machine. That
Yes,
would
yes.
mean that you're washing it with the washing liquid, that it would have fragrance in
And
it,
softener as well if it's used
and
in
the
the
softener.
household.
That's
And
it.
it
And
goes.
yes, the softener leaves a film on the mask.
Mhm.
Apart than you're breathing it directly to your lungs, it's going to leave as well an effect on the skin, because the softener, with whatever they use to do the softeners, it will leave like a thin
Mhm.
layer
Mhm.
that then it would disrupt the flora of the skin, and of course it would create
Acne.
a perfect bacterial
In fact,
environment.
yes, you mentioned triclosan, and one of the reasons we have to avoid triclosan is because it is antibacterial, and as we know, our skin is covered with bacteria, and a good number of them are actually beneficial for us. And once we've removed those, we're going to make our skin more prone to harmful and more strong bacteria that might cause problems, like, for example, acne. So it's good to keep that in mind as well. So if we are over clean, sometimes it might be causing the
Harmful.
opposite effect. So it's good to be clean, but use natural products that do not remove our healthy bacteria as well.
Those we need them just as much as the gut needs them. So yes, healthy
Exactly.
bacteria are very, very important.
Exactly. Alexia, mentioning chemicals, only recently I've read that a popular cleaning product that most of us have in our homes was recalled because it contains an unsafe dose of carcinogens. How can we inform ourselves as consumers about the products that we use, and how can we obtain reliable information about these products? Is there anywhere that we can check?
So if you go online, you're going to find everything. Unfortunately, though, many of them are supported by brands.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I don't know, there you would have a site where it tells you that you can use things that are safe for you, and or overdoing it. They say they may be carcinogenic. Ideally, there is a site. It's called
Okay.
echa.europa.eu.
All right.
It's the European site where we should be following regarding what is safe and what is not. I wouldn't follow the FDA, the American one, because the US have
They're a
completely
bit
a different
more
outlook.
lenient in the US about chemicals
Yes, yes,
and
yes, yes.
Carcinogens, I'm
Especially,
aware.
yes, especially with BPA and certain
Mhm.
formaldehydes. They still
Because
haven't
they're also
gone.
used in food products, where in the EU they are banned.
Yes, yes. EU, we're more strict. We're
So
more
good
diligent
to,
about these
if
things.
someone has a doubt, they would go on this website and check
Yes,
if the particular product or ingredient is actually safe, or if they should avoid it.
that's it. That's it. As I'm saying, it can become a bit too much at first, but even when you buy an organic product, when you read the INSI list, you're going to see all these strange names.
Mhm.
Although usually um, uh, they try to put them in brackets. So,
Mhm.
for example, Olivia Europea would mean olive oil, and they put it
Mhm.
in brackets.
Mhm.
So, for the consumer, it's easier to
To
understand.
understand what it is.
So, even when buying organic and natural products, one should always read the INSI list. Because, for example, with a deodorant, you say, Yay, I'm buying a natural organic
Mhm.
deodorant.
Mhm.
But, for example, if it has bicarbonate of soda, that is very harmful for the skin.
All right, because it's quite harsh, and there's the
Not when
pH
it's
as well,
written at the end completely of the
because it
INSI
would be a very
list.
small amount.
Lit- would be micrograms when
Mhm.
it's there. But
Mhm.
when it's written in the first 5 ingredients in a natural deodorant, I would totally omit it. It's even
Okay.
worse than using a synthetic one, in all
All right,
fairness.
so it depends where the chemical is
Yes,
in the list of ingredients. In fact,
yes,
even things like, for example, citric acid, which is found in nature as well. It depends where it is
that's it.
and the amount that is present. So, and sometimes some products might be synthetic, but in reality they would be chemicals that we find available in nature as well, and we eat them with our
True.
food. So if we might be alarmed by finding a long list of chemicals, but when you consider, some of them might actually be things that are consumed every day in the food that we eat, because they are naturally available too. So it's good to keep in mind what comes from nature and what is completely lab, how can I say,
Lab done.
synthetic.
Then the other thing, one particular thing that we should be looking when we read the ingredient list is parfum. Parfum may have between 30 to 50 different constituents and up to 200 compounds.
All
So
right,
with
all
just
right.
one word, because obviously law and marketing, they have to find their ways and means through the product. They write these particular constituents all under one name, which is parfum.
All right.
Parfum means masking or odoring. So that's
Okay.
the ingredient which will give the consumer an idea that has been fragranced, either because they want a nice smell or because they would have something like a preservative which stinks. So they mask
Okay.
the odor with the word
With a
parfum.
perfume. Okay. All right.
The
Or
thing
something
is,
else that neutralizes it.
yes, the thing is that the word parfum, as I'm saying, it might have under over 200 constituents, and some of them can be harmful to us. So, if possible, whenever possible, this is something that we should avoid when buying. There should be all the ingredients labeled and not the word parfum. And
Because
if
you
it's
wouldn't know
found that,
exactly
that's
what's
it.
in it.
And if it's found at the beginning of the INSI list of the reading, it means it's very strong in that. So I would totally avoid that particular product.
That's very interesting. In fact, mentioning because we all like, having a nice smell in our environment, in our clothes, and sometimes or quite often it is to the detriment of
Our
our
health.
health. Even, for example, with
True.
room fragrances, car fragrances, we end up inhaling and being exposed to a lot of chemicals that we would otherwise avoid, and we do not realize that our symptoms might be linked to what we are putting in our immediate environment, and we can replace that with natural things, and we'll go over that soon. We have hinted about alternatives that we can use instead of conventional products. Can you share maybe something that we can use in our house and to clean our clothes that do not have so much of an impact on our health and do not expose us to so many chemicals that might cause harmful effects on our health?
Sure. One of the cleaning methods which I love most is steam cleaning because it
Okay.
only uses water. So at home, steam cleaning is great for the sofas, for the curtains, for the bathrooms, for the kitchen sinks. So basically, that is something which I recommend a lot.
All right.
And
So basically,
then
we
you
would be
have,
lifting the dirt from our products with steam rather than with harsh chemicals.
yes, and we will still be having a clean smell as well after steam cleaning because it leaves a nice smell that it's of cleanliness. Then there's alcohol. Right now we know a lot about alcohol. There's ethanol, 70%, and that we can use, for example, for the faucets. It's great. You don't need anything else, just a clean cloth, some spraying alcohol, and you would clean your faucets or your chrome or your stainless steel really easily with it. Same with alcohol, though. I would suggest that when you use it a lot, you still have the mask on.
Because
Because
we
if
do
you inhale,
inhale the
yes,
alcohol.
yes, and usually that you put it in a spray bottle, or at
Mhm.
least I find it better in a spray bottle. So ideally, you would use it with a mask on anyways. There's vinegar, white vinegar that you can use. There's bicarbonate or percarbonate or together. Now, percarbonate is not an ingredient which is usually heard of much, but
No,
lately
no,
it's been coming
effectively.
in the market as well.
All right.
Percarbonate is bicarbonate of soda, but it's cooked, processed cooked
Okay, okay.
further, and then it creates more of a finer granule than
All right.
bicarbonate of soda.
All right.
Lately, it
Because
has been
bicarbonate of
found,
soda is a fine dust rather
yes,
than a granule.
and percarbonate is even more.
Okay, okay.
It's great, for example, to wash the white clothes with it, so because
All
you get
right.
whiter, and it's great
All
as
right.
well to wash the stainless steel, the pots, great for the bathrooms and the showers. So it's really, really great. with them citric acid.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, for washing up the clothes, there are soap nuts, which they are not
Mm-hmm.
that known yet, but I find them
No.
great as
In
well.
fact, I've heard
So
about them, but I've never had the courage
soap nuts,
to use
use
them.
them. It's until you start using them.
Mm-hmm.
Soap nuts is basically a nut, a natural nut,
Mm-hmm.
that once it gets in contact with water, which is more than 30 degrees Celsius, it produces soap.
All
That's why
right, all
they're called
right,
soap
all
nuts.
right.
Um, uh, Let me show them to you.
Yes.
Okay, there they
All
are.
right.
So basically, this, if you're using them in a washing machine, you put them in a jute box. This
Okay.
would be the amount for a full 7 kilo load,
All right, all right.
and you just put it with the running wash, and at the end, you just take it out. These can be
All
used
right.
up to 3 times.
Okay, so you would dry them in between, right? And then you can
Yes, you just
reuse
hang
them.
it, and then you reuse with the other wash. And there's also
All right.
the old
Mm-hmm.
soap of bar. These are
Okay.
ideal for hand washing, and if you need anything that you really need to scrub,
Mm-hmm.
you use
You can
that
scrub it
one.
directly
Yes,
with the soap.
yes, this is made out of olive oil.
Okay. In fact, some old traditions that were used have been forgotten. Even the bicarbonate was used when
Yes,
they didn't have other chemicals available, and
very true.
it's good when things work and they are um, more ecological and more sustainable. Why not reintroduce them and start using them again?
Yes, maybe these at first you might find them a bit mild in smell because
Mm-hmm.
we are so used to synthetic fragrances
Mm-hmm.
that then you would feel like ilallo, they're sort of not smelling of anything. But it's until your olfactory system
Get
calms
used to it.
itself down
That's true.
because most
In
of the
fact,
time it's always on alert, the
that's true.
olfactory
That's
system.
true. And in fact, I noticed when I started reducing the amount of products that I use in my household, at the beginning, it was a bit, how can I say, not upsetting, but I was used to certain smells. And then you start smelling your clothes, for example, that don't have any smell. But in reality, you become more sensitive, and I've noticed it myself, and I'm sure that Alexa, you can um, how can I say, you can compare that
I
with
can
your own
relate.
experience as
Yes,
well. That nowadays, if, for example, first of all, I am more sensitive if a particular fragrance or a particular smell, I can smell it better. And secondly, if, for example, someone comes at the clinic with a very strong
strong
perfume,
one.
I end up really overwhelmed and sneezing. So I really realized that once you've removed um, a good dose of chemicals from your life and you become exposed to it again, you become very much more sensitive and aware of its harmful effect as well. How about you, Alexia? How can you relate to
Yes,
this?
yes, yes, definitely. Sometimes even, for example, my mother loves these fabric conditioners, unfortunately. And when she
Mm-hmm,
comes in the car, I have to open the window because I would feel like it's overwhelming. And as same, I start sneezing and I feel like I'm getting a headache. So,
mm-hmm,
but the thing is, the olfactory, when we smell those synthetic fragrances, we're leaving it on alert all the
mm-hmm,
time.
mm-hmm.
And it affects even the taste eventually. They found out a study that
All
when the
right.
olfactory system is always on the go because of these
Mm-hmm,
chemicals,
mm-hmm.
then even the taste, milder taste, for example, they found with mozzarella, most people don't
All
know
right.
that mozzarella has a flavor.
Okay.
They
Okay.
feel it blunt. The reason why is because of the olfactory, of the senses of the smell. The
Yes, because in
cilia
fact
in our
we
noses,
smell
yes,
certain foods rather than taste
yes,
them.
yes. And so it affects everything. And as I'm saying, although through the skin, when we're washing and when we're applying deodorant, we're absorbing in the body, but chemicals are mostly going in from the olfactory. So our olfactory is all the time on alert, and that is why even kids are having so many problems with allergies and rhinitis. So ideally at home, we should avoid. We
Hmm.
can't avoid outside because of course we
Hmm.
cannot control that. But once we're inside the
Yes.
home, we can avoid using, for example, these air fresheners, which are really harmful and toxic.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
We can
Sometimes it's
avoid.
a bit of a culture change because once you put yourself in the right frame of mind to change, you become more inclined to realize what effect they were having on your body, right?
Very true, very true.
Now, Alexia, any take-home messages that you wish to share, both as a mother and as an entrepreneur who works towards a more natural way of living?
Oh, basically, if we learn how to read our ingredient list, and if we try to love a bit more our environment and our bodies, we can go ahead and benefit both. Like, for example, even we try to reduce on plastic like this because we're doing things at
Mm.
home. So a bottle, as we were speaking before, lasts us for the last past 10 years, a spray bottle, and we're
That's
not
and they
buying
become a
plastic.
precious part of
That's it.
of our house, right?
That's it, that's it. And even, for example, like the soap nuts. The soap nuts, once you're done from the 2 or 3 washes you've used them, you put them in the organic bin.
Without
Um,
putting so many chemicals
that's
in
it.
our environment as well.
And as much as possible, we have to be aware of what we are using. The same as we do with food, the
Mhm.
same we have to do with our household and cosmetic products. Sometimes less is more. And as we're saying, we have to be aware. I think that's my message. We have to be aware
Mhm.
and work for a more sustainable future for ourselves. Because obviously, if we're reducing on chemicals, we are helping our health as well. Because some of the products we have even in Europe, they're still carcinogenic. They are still hormone disruptive, and they also do lots of harms for our sea and our environment.
Yes, yes. In fact, what
Something,
we
for
use
example,
ends up there, so it's good to
yes,
keep
the
it in mind.
microplastics, for example, which are supposed to be banned, you find, for example, one particular brand that would have those tiny
Mm-hmm,
microplastics in
mm-hmm,
them. And I'm like, okay, these should have been banned. And it's one of the
mm-hmm,
most popular products on the market. You hear many
mm-hmm,
moms that don't stay without it at home. So
mm-hmm,
it is important to be aware because
mm-hmm.
the market will always give us products, but we have to be the ones to decide what we're going to use
Yes,
for
and in
us, for our
fact,
family.
as consumers, I think we can actually drive what is being manufactured. If we refuse to use certain products, it goes with both with products that we use at home and for our own self-care and with our food as well. If there is no sale of certain products because the consumer refuses to use them, the producers will change and they will provide more natural and more sustainable products as well. So we
Very
are
true.
those who decide what is being manufactured in the end, right?
Yes, because we're the consumers. If we don't buy, of course, they will have to find an alternative way of delivering a good product. And as we're saying, the least fragrances there is in a product, the better it is. Because of course, fragrance, parfum is one of the main things that are creating our allergies. All my clients who have changed their products to more natural, sustainable products have found a difference both in skin problems and
Mm-hmm.
in allergic problems, like as we're saying, with sinuses, allergies as rhinitis, and especially with the little ones, because
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, as you might know better than me, all kids nowadays, or most of the kids, are suffering with some kind of allergies, whether skin, whether inhalation, whether allergies, rhinitis. If we reduce the toxic amounts of products at home, it will help them in alleviating those symptoms.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you very much, Alexia.
You're very
It's been a
welcome.
real
Thank you
pleasure
too.
having you on board. As a
Thank you.
last thing, how can you be found and followed? Would you like to share
Yes,
your
sure.
website, your social media?
Sure. I formulate a brand which is targeted for sensitive skin, but everyone can use it. It's called Naturenis.
Okay.
We're on Facebook as Naturenis, Natural Skincare, or even I have the website www.naturenis.com. There's Instagram as well as Naturenis. Whoever wants to reach out, and I will gladly help them in having the changeover to more an eco-sustainable way at their homes.
Thank you very much, Alexia.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.